What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening to the overall markets thus far, some very important earnings to be watching for, and what I think could end up panning out for Tesla as we're seeing this thing respecting an uptrend so far. Before I break into devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500 into the account, you are guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks. And this offer ends very, very soon in just a couple of days. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the markets. Looking at Tesla's thing is respecting a nice uptrend so far. It's not looking as strong as tickers like SPY right now, but as long as Tesla holds a key support, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, it's going to be just fine. But SPY of all things is very parabolic. It's currently testing resistance near 504, and this thing is breaking all-time highs again. It's a monster. The QQQ is also running quite hard. So is Nvda. This thing is currently up 11% in the pre-market near its all-time highs. It actually broke its all-time high temporarily. And right now, the market is still looking very, very strong. So the question is, how will the market move? I'm going to talk about all of this in just a few minutes. Let's just go over some data. So initial jobless claims came out below expectations at 201,000. Everything else was close to expectations when it comes to the jobless claims 4-week average and continuing jobless claims. This is showing us that overall the jobs numbers are within expectations, but jobless claims are a bit lower, which is showing that some sectors of unemployment are actually showing strength in the labor market. So people, when it comes to unemployment, it's not as much as what we were thinking, which is some strength in the labor markets, a little bit stronger than expected for some sectors. Now, as a result of that, the market is held up, but please know that's at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the PMI report coming out. We have the S&P Global Composite PMI, manufacturing PMI, and services PMI all coming out. This is going to be important for the economy for these different sectors. So look for a big move at that time. The market's either going to continue pushing, the market might actually reverse. So be careful when this data comes out. At 10 a.m., we have existing home sales and also Jefferson from the Fed giving a speech. And all the data after that is going to be minor. We also have another Fed speaker, Harker, speaking at the end of the day. But just know the main pieces of data were initial jobless claims and the PMI reports. The PMI reports are yet to come out at 9:45, and everything else after that is going to be quite minor. So watch for that data. A couple of things to know about the markets. We had Nvidia's earnings, and we're starting to see the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the indices just pushing very, very nicely this morning. Nvidia beat on its earnings and had pretty good guidance, in my opinion, with a 265% increase in revenue year over year, strong demand for AI chips for servers, and so far so good from them. Excellent continued growth is expected, which is great, and that's helping the markets big time. Now we're seeing some talk about the Fed. The Fed policymakers suggested that they don't want to, excuse me, they don't want to move too fast to cut interest rates according to the minutes, and they're going to be very careful. They also warned us of some downwards pressure to the economy if they have to keep rates higher for longer. So the market already kind of like dropped when that came out before starting this rally, and we're going to be watching to see how the market reacts to resistance from here. Boeing is replacing the leader of its 737 MAX program after part of the plane blew out, and that's going to be very important for safety reasons and also for other factors. And finally, the IRS is getting more skeptical about corporate jets. The agency said on Wednesday it's going to conduct 3 to 4 dozen audits to corporate jet usage. So something worth noting. That's it for the main pieces of news for the markets. Let's go over some earnings. This morning we had Moderna, we have Fiverr and Wayfair announcing their earnings alongside Nikola and a couple of others. And after the market closes today, we have Carvana's. Don't forget about that. Wayfair did well for earnings. It actually beat on EPS and revenue. The Q4 net revenue was up to about $3.1 billion. They also had a very, very nice gross profit of 30.3%. So good margins, good growth from them. And their guidance is looking pretty good. So not bad from Wayfair. That's why the share price is up. Fiverr ended up missing on its revenue. Even though it was up like 10%, it was at 91.5 million, a little bit below what we were expecting. But the guidance for the next quarter is only 92.5 million. That's 5% below what analysts were expecting. So weak guidance for revenue caused this thing to drop alongside them missing other estimates, so not good for them. And then we have Moderna, which did surprisingly well. We actually beat on EPS and revenue. EPS was at 55 cents. That may not be comparable to a loss of 97 cents expected by analysts, with revenue at 2.8 billion above expectations. And then they also gave their guidance. I saw this somewhere here, which was pretty good from what I saw. Pretty good guidance thus far. And there's a lot of good productivity. They reiterated its full year 2024 guidance at roughly $4 billion. The forecast includes revenue, so far so good from them. That's why it's still holding up nicely. So this was good. Fiber was a little bit lackluster, and then Wafer did well. For Tesla, I'm not seeing much news coming out for Tesla. That's like quite significant. I'm just seeing some minor headlines. There's some talk about how there are new colors coming out for the Cybertruck. There's also now a new Abyss Blue that's coming out if you're willing to pay $6,500 more. So pretty cool stuff. They're adding new paint firms for the Cybertruck, but only 4 Tesla service centers in California are participating so far, according to the website. And we'll see how it goes, at least for the time being. I'm sure this will expand over time, but they basically have a rose gold, slip gray, and then they also have like this blue. So pretty cool looking colors. These are the colors for the Cybertruck if you guys want to see them closely. Good stuff so far. But anyways, that is pretty much it for the news affecting us so far. So with that being said, guys, I just wanted to say I thank you all for listening this far. I'm just going to talk about the charts from here, but this is what the colors will look like. We have this like rose gold like color, gray, and then we also have like this nice looking abyss blue. So pretty cool stuff. Anyways, let's now talk about the market. How is this looking for Tesla? Tesla is on an uptrend, making higher highs and higher lows. Watch support in this 195 area. If we do lose this, then 192.5 is coming, followed by 190. If we hold above this trend line, we could bounce and start pushing for 198 and eventually 200 plus again. It is uptrending as we're trying to get a break from this bull flag, but Tesla is lacking some strength. It's not as explosive as it could have been as SPY is pushing. So we're going to be watching this support to see how well Tesla could hold and see if we get a bounce from here. If Tesla bounces off 195 and holds it nicely or tries to get back above it, so look for a bounce and a push for 200. It could actually get close to 200 and break out. If Tesla fails to hold 195 today, it could actually just continue to consolidate in this range. We're going to be watching to see how well it could hold. So far, there's a very good chance it might continue to uptrend. So the trend is still bullish on Tesla. It could slowly make its way up. It could also be a late runner, but just to be safe, we'll wait and see. For the last couple of days, it basically sank when we opened and bounced, then pushed up and then sank. We're going to be watching to see, do we end up getting a bounce when we open a big push up before we come back? So watch for that carefully. The trend is still bullish on Tesla. For SPY, this thing has been very, very parabolic. If you guys look at it, it ran all the way up to 504, breaking the all-time high. But we have resistance at 504. We're going to be watching support at 503.5. If we lose that, 502 is coming, followed by the gap fill down to 501. Now, even if it does come down to fill the gap at 501, if we reject and lose 503, it could still uptrend, right? It could still come down and then bounce off this and continue to push up higher. Then if it starts breaking up again, watch 504 as resistance. If we break this, watch 505.5, this next resistance zone up here, followed by 507 and then 508. Overall, SPY is on an uptrend, and we watch to see how well it can hold above its level. And we'll just be watching this very, very carefully, at least for now. It's already up so big, so don't expect to just blast off to like 510 instantly. Watch and see how it reacts to 504. Do we get below support or not? But overall, the trend is bullish, okay? It could come down to 502 to 501, fill the gap, and then bounce and start pushing, or it could just push from here to higher levels. Watch and see what the reaction is, and just be very careful. 504 to 504.5 is resistance. If we break that, watch 505 to 505.5. If we break that, 507 is next. As of right now, we're kind of shuffling just below 504. SPY is showing signs of tough resistance up here, but it's still on a very strong uptrend. It could still break out higher later on, so don't rule it out just yet. It's still bullish overall. The QQQ, it has been trying to push, but we're approaching this resistance zone where this yellow trend line is. There is a gap to fill at 432, so we'll see if this thing comes down and loses 434 to fill this gap, or if it ends up bouncing and starts breaking out. So I'm just going to be very patient with this. Watch resistance around 434 to 435. If we break this, we could push for 438 plus. If we fail to do so, watch this gap to fill at 431. If that fails us, then 429 is next. But even if it does hit that, it could still rebound. If this does turn to fill the gap, it could bounce later on and retest the high. So don't turn too bearish quite yet if that does happen. Just watch and see how it reacts to this resistance and see if we come back down, and be very, very careful. Why does the QQQ have that gap? That's because of Nvda. Nvda pumped very, very nicely, hitting all-time highs at 776, and then it came back down. It has this gap to fill at 735. So it depends on if we could hold 750. If it holds 750, it could bounce and start pushing again. If it loses 750 right here, it could come down to fill this gap and then rebound off 734 to 735. So excuse me, as far as Nvidia goes, it's a nice uptrend it's on. This could be an uptrend, can make this high, come down, make a higher low, and then continue to uptrend later. But we'll watch and see if this thing actually does retrace a bit, if it holds 750 or not. If it breaks this, it could come down to fill this gap and then bounce after that. So watch for that very, very carefully. Watch resistance as well, close to 762, then 775. So far, so good. For Aapl, it's on an uptrend. We're going to be watching to see how well it could hold these levels. Watch and see if we come back down to fill this gap around the 182s and then bounce, or do we end up just rejecting? I think Aapl has more upside potential. It could be forming kind of like a cup and handle, or it could eventually hit 185. Might come down first to 182 and then bounce. Watch resistance at 183.5, 184.25, and 185. Watch support at 182.5 and see how it goes from there. Might come down a little bit and then rebound later for 185 later on. So watch for that carefully on Aapl. Last thing I want to talk about is Super Micro. I just want to give this a shout out. This is currently testing resistance. It hits 860. Now we're going to be watching support at 810. If it loses that, watch 780. If it holds this, it could rebound higher. It could be establishing an uptrend. It does look bullish so far, so it might come down a bit, then break out to 900 plus later. But watch those supports. Might come down a bit and then bounce later. Just want to call that out. Anyways, it's getting kind of late, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. The market's going to open in just a few minutes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Watch your levels, Tesla to the moon, and peace out.